Welcome out to Lambeau Field, where the Saints dropped their first game of the season in Week 3. A brutal 18-17 loss to the Green Bay Packers for a multitude of reasons. Number one, Derek Carr going down with injury, but it does sound like it's not as serious as we originally anticipated. Another reason why it was disappointing, this game was in reach. The Saints could have won that game. We're going to break it all down for you live on NewOrleans.Football. I'm Brooke alongside Nick Underhill and Mike Triplett. Let's get into it.
Yeah, about as brutal of a loss as you could imagine for this team. And if you need any medical help, make sure you go check out the Toro Hospital, the LCMC Medical Network. They'll get you right with all your medical needs if you have any. And we are presented by PJ's Coffee. So if you need to get your day started, go check them out. They'll get you caffeinated, they'll get you right, and it'll taste great. And if you need a new car, check out Matt Bowers, best car dealer in the Gulf South region. He has dealerships all over the place, all the different brands. Anything you need, they can get you into at the right price. So check them out if you need a new car. All right, let's get into the ads. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. Are you looking for the perfect engagement ring? Look no further than Friend & Company Fine Jewelers' new engagement salon. This new area houses a wide selection of engagement rings to choose from in all cuts, sizes, and colors. Their experienced staff offer 5-star customer care to help you find the perfect ring to express your love. Visit their new engagement salon today. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, the perfect ring for the perfect moment and also for the perfect person. 7713 Maple Street between Adams and Burdett Street. 504-866-5433. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Check them out at friendandcompany.com.
For fast relief coffee. Mike Hoss here. When the AC goes out and it's hot outside, every second counts. For over 40 years, Keefe's AC Heating and Electrical has helped thousands of families stay cool in the sizzling hot months. Keefe's Get You Cool in 3 hours or less guarantee is what our customers love the most on the North or South Shore. Call Keefe's. We'll get you cool in 3 hours or less guaranteed.
Keefe's Air Conditioning and Heating.
And now electrical.
For fast relief coffee.
Moe's Barbecue is located in Metairie. They have your game day needs taken care of. Whether you're tailgating or watching the Black and Gold or LSU at home with friends, Moe's has you covered. Order pulled pork, wings, ribs, sides, and more. Come in with the family for lunch and dinner, as our kids' meals will please even the pickiest of eaters. Tailgating, parties at home, lunch and dinner, Moe's Barbecue will handle it all. Moe's Original Barbecue, 1101 North Causeway Boulevard between 48th and 49th Street in Metairie. Call 504-407-5333 for your catering order today. 504-407-5333. Moe's Original Barbecue in Metairie. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show.
Let's get into our lead topic, presented by Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers is home to a new engagement salon where they have an amazing selection of engagement rings. Go check them out, and while you're there, ask them about the fleur-de-lis earrings that I have on now, as well as the fleur-de-lis necklace. They're specially priced for our NOF audience. All right, let's get into the lead topic. Derek Carr goes down in the second quarter, does not return. He was evaluated in the medical tent. We later found out that that is where Dennis Allen found out that he would be ruled out with a shoulder injury for the rest of the game. We saw him leave and walk to the locker room. Couldn't necessarily get a good vision on his face or how he was feeling, but obviously down and upset and most likely in a lot of pain. Walks to the locker room, and then the report comes out that he was transported to a local hospital where they were examining internal injuries, which the first thing you think of is there's no way that can be good. Come to find out it's not as serious as it is. So what do we know right now, Nick?
Yeah, I think the fear of this situation was much worse maybe than the reality of it. Like, people were very, very concerned at first. Sources on both sides of it were kind of like, I don't know, like I'm expecting the worst. And then that report about the internal injuries, your mind immediately goes to like something terrifying. Like, but it's just an AC joint sprain. Derek, if you look at his injury history throughout his career, like he's been able to come back from stuff really quickly. He plays through a lot of stuff. I don't know that this week's realistic, but like this sounds like it could be like a very short-term type of thing, and then Derek's back out there playing again. But I think the takeaway from here is that we've sat here now for like 3 weeks in a row and been like, oh, they're going to get him killed. Derek's going to get hurt playing behind this line. Something bad's going to happen if they don't do something. They didn't really do anything. They kept playing the same way. He gets hurt. Your whole season's on a heap on the ground, basically, behind this offensive line that can't protect him. Yeah. This can't happen again. Like they cannot block. Like you have. I've said this a million times. You have first round pick on the bench, second round pick starting. You can't have all these resources in this and not be able to protect the most important player on your team. It's ridiculous. They're letting them down. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's execution. I don't know if it's a combination of both. I don't know if it's play calling or all three of those things. But like whatever they're doing it wrong, and it has to get better immediately. Or Jameis Winston's going to be next, and then Taysom Hill is going to be next, and then Derek Carr is going to get hurt again. You can't go through a season where you're averaging giving up a sack every single quarter of every single game. He's on pace to be sacked 68 times if he plays every single game. He's going to die. Like, you just can't do that. So they have to get way, way better at protecting it.
And beyond just the injury risk, you would say, okay, Jameis Winston comes in. Let's say that's the only thing we're changing about this team. They got a great defense. They're getting Alvin Kamara back. Jameis doesn't have to do too much. They hold opponents under 20 points every week. They did it again today. They held them to 18. You just have to have an effective enough offense to score 20 points every week. And Derek Carr at quarterback hasn't been good enough to do that. They've got Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, and Rashid Shaheed all playing out of their minds, and they can't give Derek Carr enough time to get the ball to those three guys. Now they're not going to give Jameis Winston enough time to get it to those guys. And not to mention that I think the one he got hurt on, I think it was another one of those drives where they ran the ball on first down and got 0 yards or 1 yard, and then it was 3rd and 9 when he got hurt, and he had to stand back there. All these sacks are coming on 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, because they're also not run blocking effectively either. The offensive line has absolutely been the most ineffective unit on this team, and you're right. It reached extreme measures today.
I think it was notable, too, when Dennis Allen was asked about, what is it that you get fixed with the offensive line, and you pointed it out. The word he said was teach. Obviously, that goes back to Doug Marrone, and look, do you make a change there? Obviously, we're in the season right now. It's kind of hard to just completely change the philosophy, and when I say change philosophy, move a coach move a coach out and add a coach in. But, man, something has to give, something has to change. The fact that this entire offensive line seemingly can't figure it out, and now that you have one guy who's most likely going to be out, Cesar Ruiz did leave the game with a concussion. We even saw Ryan Ramczyk, who we've been having glowing reviews on. He had a bad game as well. I don't know what it's going to take for the offensive line to figure it out and gel, but there is no reason why that a quarterback gets sacked 4 times in week 1, 4 times in week 2, 3 times in this game, and just the first half. It's crazy to see it. Of course, the 3rd sack was when Derek Carr exited the game with injury. But what do we know about the severity of an AC sprain? It seems like he could maybe even be back next week, but that's probably too forgiving.
They definitely vary. I was talking to somebody during the game, and actually I said worst case scenario is a broken clavicle, and they said actually some AC sprains can be the worst case scenario depending on the severity. I think somebody referenced that Drew Brees might have played through an AC sprain one year and didn't even miss any time. So it's one of those injuries
18.
that has very, a wide variety, which is why we're not sitting here, which is why sources aren't telling us an exact timetable in the immediate aftermath. But, you can look at optimistic histories of this injury and you can look at negative ones. And it does sound like there's optimism that it's the one that they're hoping there's a path through with.
Sources told me Derek's a freak and he plays through everything. Yeah. But I don't know. Like, we'll see how it goes. I think it's going to take the next few days before there's, like, a real timetable on it. But to the point you were making about, like, Doug Marrone, I don't know that you make a change, like, right now on the coaching staff, but that's definitely his boss saying, hey, you got to be better at your job. You have to go out there. You got to fix this. This is on you to get this right. So, I mean, that was definitely somebody being put on notice. If this keeps going on and on and on, like, you can't change the players midseason, so that's when coaches get changed. I think Doug Marrone's a good coach, though. Like, we saw last year, like, he brought Cesar Ruiz up. Whatever's going on right now, though, it's ineffective. And he needs to change the way he's going about preparing these guys, how he's getting them ready, because it's the start of every game, and they come out and they can't block at the beginning of the game, and then it's like the second half, oh, well, they figured it out. So, like, are you looking at the wrong things coming in? Do you have the wrong plan? Like, I don't know what it is, but, like, it does definitely have to get better, and it has to get better, like, now. Like, they just can't keep playing like that.
Here's the deal, too. if Derek Carr does come back next week, I'm not necessarily sure I'm comfortable putting him back there if I'm the coach, given the way the offensive line is playing. So it's, do you let him rest for a week and you go with Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill? We'll see. It seems like they would more than likely, based on the things that we were hearing today, that they would start Jameis Winston at quarterback if Derek Carr were unable to go against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I'm not necessarily sure that they rush him back out, given that. How did you guys think the Saints responded after Carr left the game offensively? We'll start there.
Oh, poorly. Extremely poorly. Like, they punted every single drive until the end of the game. I don't think that was that much different than from the Carr-led offense. The Carr-led offense hasn't been good. So it wasn't, necessarily a Jameis problem. Even that first half, Shaheed gives them the run back. They have one good drive the whole first half. It looks bad. They aren't a good offensive team right now, regardless of the quarterback. So, but the thing I would say is that I feel like Carr's floor right now was about the ceiling of what they've been able to be offensively the last few years. As bad as it's been, that's about as good as they've been previously. And you kind of feel like, okay, well, Derek's going to keep playing. They're going to figure it out. The line's going to block a little bit better. There's going to be more chemistry, and they're going to raise the bar on it a little bit. I feel like the bar of what we've seen the first few weeks is probably what it's going to be if he can't play. So it's an issue. I don't know, man. Your defense is giving up 20 points a game, and you're struggling to win. It's a tough way to live right now, and it broke today. This is a horrible loss. You're up 17 points, and then you don't get no points.
You can't possess the ball. They didn't even need to score. They just needed to hang on to the ball for a few minutes, and they were giving it back to the offense's hands are just as dirty as the defenses for those last 4 drives. It was how quickly can we give it back to you guys? Yeah, and I agree. Jawan Johnson said almost the exact same thing that you said. It was it wasn't a Jameis problem, and he pointed out, he goes, we only really scored once in the first half.
Yeah,
our offense is struggling, period. And he said, I don't get it either. He goes, I was with this offense during OTAs. I was with this offense all training camp and preseason. I know how good we can be. The one thing we have seen repeatedly, as I mentioned earlier, those 3 receivers are special. I would take these 3 receivers as close. Miami's probably got something to say about it after putting 70 points up today, but as much as any 3 receiver duo, and desperation throw to them, gotta have it throw after them. They kept delivering. Mike was delivering when Jameis was at quarterback. Chris Olave was delivering when Jameis was at quarterback. But that's the only thing this offense has done well. There's been, as you were saying early in the game, there's been no flow. There's been no rhythm. There's that drive we saw in the preseason where he threw to a bunch of different receivers and they moved down the field. We haven't seen that at all. We've seen clunky, big plays saving the offense. We haven't seen rhythm once.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that there's probably an offensive the offensive coaching isn't good. It's not good right now. They need to be way better than they are right now. They didn't run the ball enough in the second half. Even if it's ineffective, just keep running it and run out the clock. You're up 17 points. Just things they're doing are counterintuitive. You have too many good players to never be in a rhythm. You have the best rhythm receiver in the NFL, Mike Thomas. Chris Olave is that type of player too. He's making tough catches today. Not being able to move the chains when you got those 2 guys, just get them the ball, pop passes, quick, go, 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 go. It's just, I don't know, man. It just doesn't feel like it's you have a well-built machine and it's just not lubricated at all. And every time they go out there, it's just so rickety and rigid, and you can hear the gears turning, and it just has to change.
It's like an identity crisis with this offense, and the talent's undeniable. We can sit here until we're blue in the face and mention all the wide receivers, the tight ends, the running backs. They're going to get Alvin Kamara back this week. So the question is now, can this team win with Winston? Should they have to start him next week? Well,
I was just going to say 2 other things that are more wrenches into this offense. We were so excited to see Alvin Kamara back because they talked all offseason they're going to use him like Alvin again. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is one thing Jameis is going to have to prove. He's never been really good at getting the ball to any running back, including Alvin, in the passing game. And now I don't know if Taysom Hill can be a part of the formula anymore to get that run game going because Jake Haener is suspended. And Taysom Hill's your backup quarterback, and we've seen in the past when they don't have a third on the roster, they're probably going to have to sign one and maybe actually use that emergency QB rule. But if Jameis is your 1 and Taysom is your 2 and the third guy isn't even on the roster yet, I think you almost have to abandon a lot of the Taysom offense too. So, the answers aren't obvious right now for how it's going to all of a sudden look better next week.
Yeah, what do you think? Do you think Jameis Winston can pull it off next week against the Bucs?
I mean, against the Bucs, yeah, I think he can probably pull it off. I mean, it's the Bucs, and I think they'll be. Look, I'm not buying the Baker Mayfield stuff yet. I think DA will have a very good plan for him. They'll slow him down. I mean, they're going to be down a safety. Hopefully, you have a Debo backup. If he's back up, I think you got a good chance. If not, you never know. But yeah, I think Marshawn's going to take out Mike Evans. So I like their chances in this game, but I like their chances better if Derek Carr is healthy and playing and the offensive line is blocking for him. I mean, it's just that's the way the offense is supposed to be. So I still think they have a puncher's chance, but I'm not sure yet as we sit here if I'm picking them or not. But I think they do have a chance to win the game.
I think it's so hard to evaluate quarterback Derek Carr too, given the offensive line play. I know it's easy to pick apart a game, but really when you're not confident in the pocket, which is what I would feel like I would be if I've got pressure in my face the entire game, how can you expect your quarterback to be confident back there when the offensive line has just been that bad? Which gets to our Martin Wine and Spirit question of the day. Martin Wine and Spirit is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. All right, Alec asks, what best explains the offensive woes? Receivers not getting open, so the QB has to hold the ball, quarterback not finding the open man and holding too long, or is all of it a moot point because the offensive line is just that bad? For me, it begins and ends with the offensive line. How do you expect your quarterback and your receivers to begin to cook when he's not even getting enough time I'm sure when he does have enough time, he didn't feel like he has enough time just given the flow of the game.
Yeah, it's O-line. I'm not blaming these receivers at all. Like, these guys are getting open. They're very, very good at what they do. They're creating
separation, all those things that you look for with wide receivers as well.
Look, and there's moments like we find them and the ball's not going to them. Like on the third down, they hit Olave in the chest. Like Mike Thomas is open in the back of the end zone. Now, granted, there might be something like preconceived to where you're going to Olave on the rollout no matter what. But, like, if you look just, ahead of them, the whole back of the end zone's open. So these guys are getting open. I think there's been some moments of hesitation with Carr. Like, there's been times where when I'm going through the film, like, it's just kind of like throw it, okay? Like, but I think that's just new offense stuff, so that'll get figured out at some point. I think it's play calling. Like, I hate to be that guy. Like, I often think when, like, the fans are like, play calling, but it's just like, the play calling's been a little bit suspect. Like, it just needs to be, you got to get this thing going. Like, it's just not going. So it's some point when you have a 2-year symptom, you have much better players. It's not on the players at a certain point. It's on the people pulling the strings. I think it has to be a little bit better. So I think it's all those things, but I'm exonerating the wide receivers here. Like, I'm not putting blame on Mike Thomas, Chris Olave, and Rashid Shaheed. No way, no chance, no
This
how.
is anecdotal, but we've studied, obviously, the tape. You study every play on tape. I go back and look a lot. I can not think of many examples of Carr standing in the pocket with time and not finding someone open. There are a couple times I think he held on. I actually think on the one he got hurt, maybe he held on to it. He should have felt the pressure coming, but he held on to it too long because
it's 39.
Because it's 39, and he only had like 3 seconds. Like, he was trying to let something develop. I think almost every sack has come in 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12. Like I said, that's also because I think they're trying to run the ball early in these downs so they can be like, finally, I can get into my play sheet when it's 2nd and 5 and 3rd and 2. And they're just never getting 2nd and 5 and 3rd and 2 in this offense. So that's chicken versus the egg, play calling versus execution, but nothing they're calling on first down except for last week when they were throwing to Mike 7 times, and that got them in some advantageous situations. They ran the ball decently before Jamal Williams got hurt. For the most part, their 1st and 2nd offense has been just atrocious, and it's leading to 3rd and long sacks.
We're going to continue breaking down the Saints' first loss of the 2023 season. I also want to hear from you guys in the live chat. I have it pulled up. Let's get an early reaction. Let's see if your records for the season have changed. Go ahead and throw those into the live chat. We're going to continue breaking down this loss right after the break.
Now, at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company, get our $10.99 shrimp remoulade combos with zesty shrimp remoulade and fried shrimp or catfish for only $10.99. And did you hear? Soft-shelled crabs are back at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
Are you tired of renting and ready to own your dream home? Contact Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, your trusted source for home loans. Our competitive rates and flexible terms can help make your home ownership dreams a reality. If you're a first-time home buyer or looking to refinance, our experienced lenders are here to help. Our online application process allows you to apply on your schedule. It's quick, easy, and convenient. Visit us online at jeffersonfinancial.org to learn more. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
At Turo, we were born for moments like this. From bringing new bundles of joy into the world to delivering what new mothers need to stay healthy. Born to keep hearts beating strong and to keep seniors active and healthy for years to come. Because at Turo, we deliver more than babies. From heart care to cancer care and newborns to seniors, at Turo, we're born to care.
Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
I'll take a New Orleans Saints scratch up. Play New Orleans Saints from the lottery. Just scratch, fold, and punch your way to winnings. Punch your ticket with New Orleans Saints. Win up to $100,000. Enter our second chance drawings, giving you a season to smile.
Welcome back to the Mobile Toro Hospital studio. We are live in Green Bay at Lambeau Field, and let's just take a moment to acknowledge where we are and just how incredible you guys have been with us on NOF, that we can go live from places like this. We can have a staff out here, so thank you guys so much for the support. We really appreciate it. All right, let's continue breaking down this loss. I want to get to the point that this game was in reach, and at one point the momentum just completely flipped. Mike, why did it shift?
Reach.
And why was it out of reach?
Reach isn't the right word. It was secured, held on to, locked down. Somebody broke it open. They spilled it everywhere. I mean, this is an almost impossible game to lose. I mean, they had a 17-0 lead. Now, look, they were not playing well while building that 17-0 lead. Rashid Shaheed continues to make so many plays for this game. That was a punt return that gave them one of the touchdowns. The other one was the touchdown catch to Jimmy Graham on third down. They almost had to settle for a field goal there. They weren't moving up and down the field necessarily, and the defense probably got away with a few things. There were a couple of deep balls that Jordan Love missed, but Jordan Love looked like he was playing terrible. And then, it took a series of Jordan Love drives him down the field, offense gives it right back. Jordan Love drives him down the field, offense gives it right back. Jordan Love drives him right down the field again, offense misses the field goal. And, I mean, all those things had to happen for them to lose this game. So there's dirty hands on everybody. I mean, the defense, they've played lights out. It's hard to blame them for one bad 20-minute stretch when they've played so good all season. But it was really disheartening to see them let Jordan Love find that rhythm that we've said the Saints offense has never found all season. A 45-yard pass interference penalty against Alontae Taylor, and it followed immediately by another one against Isaac Yiadom really hurt, but then they let him go back down the field again without penalties. So, I think their pass rush that we've seen for 2.5 games kind of disappeared down the stretch too. They didn't really put any pressure on Jordan Love. So it was just one of those complete, like, you don't usually see momentum snowball like that and never change. And it was just like they couldn't do anything right on any faction of the game.
Yeah, I mean, all I can really say is I co-signed the autopsy. Like, there isn't much to add there. They just stink. Like, they stunk on offense. Like, and it was crazy. I'm watching the game, and it's like, well, they're going to get to 30 points maybe, like at halftime. It's like the offense has been lousy, and they're still going to get there. But, like, I don't know. Like, it just fell apart in an unbelievable way. Like, it was just about the most brutal way you could exit this game, I think.
To me, it really did seem, though, that Derek Carr leaving the game in the way he did with the injury, it really affected all three phases, offense, defense, and special teams. Were you guys feeling that as well?
I think that's exonerating guys to say that. I mean, I don't, like Nick said earlier, I don't think the offense changed. The offense looked the same with Jameis running it as it did with Carr running it. Not good enough.
I think it would. I don't know. Like, as a human being, you see that guy go down. I think it does have some effect on you where you're like, oh, damn, like, is our season over? Is it ruined? Where are we going from here? I think it's impossible for that to not affect the team in some degree. And I don't know. It just seems like a little bit circumstantial that, like, everything kind of just, like, the momentum, the passion, just all of it just seemed flat after that. So, yeah, I think it did a little bit.
The reason why I say that is I saw something incredibly uncharacteristic from Demario Davis when Jordan Love put him on ice skates and just went right past him, and Demario Davis missed. Well, I can't think of the last time I saw Demario Davis just miss in space like that. He's been somebody we've been talking about who is right up there with some of the best linebackers right now in the NFL. And it just was one of those moments where I thought, wow, I haven't seen that in a while. That might have something to do with that.
Yeah, and I think just kind of like when things started going bad on defense, they just started to compound. Yeah, and it's going and it's going and it's going and it's going. And I think there was probably a little bit of like, the guys who were on the team last year were probably like, oh man, we're back in 2022. Like it was different the first 3 weeks when they're playing, or the first 2 weeks when they're playing with like zero margin for error, and they're out there and they know Derek Carr's on the other side, and there's like a belief in like, okay, if we hold on, we're going to win this game. I think once you took that out of there, and it's not a commentary on Jameis any way whatsoever, it just kind of probably was just like, man, we've been living on like the razor's edge, and like it's just not going to happen this time. And it just felt like things started to snowball for him a little bit.
Yeah, let's get to our moment presented by New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. The Blake Grupe 46-yard field goal miss. That's something that I think when he went up to step up to kick, I think all of us kind of thought it was in his favor, like the Saints have an opportunity to put it away based on what we saw in training camp, him winning the kicker battle. Did the Saints make the right choice with Blake Grupe? I know that's a tough question to ask, but we have to ask it.
Look, Will Lutz missed like early in his career and then ended up being nails for a number of years until he wasn't. But yeah, right before that kick, I looked at Mike. I said, Mike, make a choice, in or out. Mike, I don't know. Mike, you got to make a choice. He's going to make it. He's made them all summer. And
yeah.
I felt the same way. I thought he was going to hit it. I thought they were going to escape out of here, get on the plane, kind of, be 3-0, and then it was going to be like, all right, what do they got to do to get to 10 wins? Like, how long is Carr going to be out? If Carr's out for the rest of the regular season, can he make the playoffs, and can they get in the playoffs, and he comes back and they win some games? Like, can they save this thing? Looking at the schedule, like, I thought it was all going to be fine. Like, I thought he was going to save the day, and he didn't. I mean, it was a little bit disappointing that he didn't come through in his first, like, major moment, though, for sure.
This is one thing I will say to the point about Derek Carr's absence affecting him. This is the first time all season, even though they were in a 16-15 game in week 1 and what ended up being a 20-17 game in week 2, it's the first time when it felt like the weight of the world was on everyone's shoulders. I mean, obviously the weight of the world was on Grupe's shoulders when that was the difference between the win and the loss and like salvaging something on a really dark moment when they didn't know what Derek Carr's outlook was going to be yet. And obviously, he didn't rise to it, but it felt like that, like the tightness of that second half. I mean, a minute before I hemmed and hawed and finally predicted, I think he'll make it. He's made it every time so far. I said something like only half sarcastically, like this is the kind of game where they're going to get in field goal range and then miss the field goal. I mean, it just feels like everything that could go wrong went wrong in this game. And yeah, there is something to momentum and the tightness you start to feel when it's like every play magnifies times 10, then times 100 by the time he was kicking.
Well, Dennis Allen even mentioned why they didn't kick in the first half.
From 55, yeah.
No, that was after Jameis was in the game. It was in the third quarter when they could have attempted a 55-yard field goal.
Yeah.
Third quarter. And what did he – you're the one that asked him the question, I believe. How was DA answering that? It seemed to me like he was just – we just didn't feel good about it there and moved on from it.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, and I guess in that type of game, you probably feel like you can try to go for it, and maybe your odds are a little bit better converting there than going for the field goal, and you don't expect, everything to fall apart on you. But when it does, those are the moments you look back to and say, like, hey, wait a minute, like, should you have tried one there?
Yeah, no, and what was really interesting about that situation is they were still leading 17-0 when he didn't attempt the 55-yarder, and then Lou Hedley punts and downs it at the 5.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of the end for the Saints because that was the drive where Jordan Love drove them all the way down, and the drive finally stalled inside like the 10-yard line when they went for it on 4th and 2, and the Saints stopped them. But I think that was the beginning of they took over on the 5, and I understood Dennis Allen's decision at the time, and it was, until this team proves it can drive down on the field on us, we should probably keep playing the field position game, not giving giving the ball at the 50. But that drive that followed when they drove about 90 yards, that was the beginning of the bolstering confidence.
Yeah, look, and we can't I criticized them all last year for being too conservative in the play calling, and then when they're a little bit more aggressive and it doesn't necessarily work, you can't sit here and be results-based analysis. It has to be a general philosophy of either you're going to be aggressive in these situations or you're not, and then the outcome just has to be secondary to that. So you have to analyze the decision and not the outcome. The decision to go for it there was something that made a lot of sense to me.
All right, let's acknowledge the two guys that were out. Marcus on defense. Marcus May out with his suspension, and Paul Sidibe is out with injury. How did we see Isaac Yiadom and Jordan Howden handle the pressure?
I thought they were okay until they weren't. We were talking about Yiadom looking good, and then he gives up the touchdown, and then you're like, damn, maybe Debo would have stopped that. I thought Howden looked okay throughout the game, but safety play is something that I'm really going to need to get a second look at. It seemed
Right.
like he was solid, but I don't necessarily know like how assignment sound he was or anything.
There must have been assignment problems, though. Like I said, in the first half, there were 3 times where there were just like egregious blown coverages that had to do with new guys working together and miscommunication. And then obviously down the stretch, all the passing yards they were giving up. I didn't even blame Yadam too much for the touchdown coverage. I thought he was okay on that, but he had the 2 penalties on the drive before, and we asked him about that after the game, and he was like, "Yeah, they got me." He's like, "That was the right call. I had PI on that play." They didn't quite concede that Alante's was definitely a penalty, but obviously those guys. I mean, I think Yadam had like 4 pass breakups. I think Taylor had like 4 pass breakups, but they kept going at both those guys until the dam finally
It felt
broke.
like Taylor had a game of like extreme highs and extreme lows, and it was just very boomer bust throughout.
I actually would say that that's how it's been in the first 2 weeks as well. It's just been kind of covered by the wins. We haven't broken it down in that way. Maybe that'll be the new breakdown this week, is keying in on Alante Taylor. Be on the lookout for that. Nick, of course, always does the film review. We'll be able to see. Yeah, we'll see it in there. All right, before things got bad, Jimmy Graham had a touchdown in this game for the first time in a long time. First time since December of 2014. And then Rashid Shaheed was money on that punt return for 76 yards for the touchdown. He is our money segment presented by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. But it's at the end of this game, so we can't really glorify Rashid Shaheed. A loss is a loss.
We can keep glorifying him.
But Rashid
Thank
Shaheed,
goodness they still have him on this team.
My thing is, if you can get Jimmy Graham and Rashid Shaheed and guys like that going, can they withstand the injury bug?
Well, shoot, the Jimmy touchdown feels like it was in 2014 because like so much happened
I
after.
know.
Like you said, I was like, wow, that was today, huh? Like it's just
the exact same
crazy.
thing.
So much happened. But Shaheed's been amazing. I think he's had an amazing start to the season. There were some special teams gaffes, losing the ball on the very first play of the season, a punt he didn't feel, but like he's been extremely explosive. I think he's been money all year, and he's one of the more exciting pieces of this offense right now. Every time they need him, he shows up. He makes a big play. That was a great return. Like didn't even get touched, I don't think, on it. It was just it was an amazing play. Yeah.
He should be the biggest provider of offense in 2 of their 3 wins right now. I mean, he almost was. And I guess a little credit on that play. I wrote them all down at the time and tweeted it out. One block in particular that stood out to me was Isaiah Foskey, the rookie that we've beat up on a little bit. He had a good one. Lonnie Johnson Jr. had the most important block. I don't know if it was legal, but if it was legal, it was a great job by him to make sure he didn't wrap around the guy.
He had an interception today, too.
Yeah,
that's getting lost in the fold.
When we're talking about secondary guys who were in new positions, he made a couple of big plays. There were like 4 or 5 guys that had good blocks on that end, but Rashid also just made a guy miss so bad early in that return. He's special. He's really special.
Before we get out of here, I want to go to the chat. Mike M asks, given the Saints D and weapons with AK coming back, do you think the Saints can let Jameis loose a few degrees lower than no risk at no biscuit? I just totally blew that one up. With greater success. Essentially, can you let Jameis loose a little bit?
I wouldn't. I mean, against the Bucs, I wouldn't. I would play an extremely tight game, try to win it, 17-14. I think that's probably their best key to success in a game like that. Minimize mistakes. Maybe keep your quarterback from being in a situation where he feels like he has to gun it and win the game. So I would try to play it like I've played these first 3 games.
I think they will try to play it like they played these first 3 games. But what did Derek Carr have to do to salvage the first 2 games? He eventually had to be like, I've got to throw a deep pass to Rashid Shaheed. Like, otherwise we're going to lose this game to the Titans. Like, so I think it'll be as conservative as it can be until hopefully they don't have to break the emergency deep ball button that they had to use in the first.
The funny
2
thing though is like those shots on the field are conservative plays almost. So
Sure.
Like you aren't like thrown to a pick. Like, and we've seen them do that with Jameis where it's like short, try to set up a bomb. Like I think that's probably how they're going to go about it. So I think you're going to get 50-yard plays and then just very, very conservative, like check down to the outside.
Kind of like it looked like in the second half.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually hate the offense. I didn't think it wasn't like they were going run, punt. Like Jameis ended up throwing like 10 or 11 passes. I think he was 6 of 10 or 6 of 11. That last drive, he was 4 of 6. He was thrown to Mike and he was thrown to Olave. That's good. Get the ball in those guys. Don't take those guys out of the game plan. But yeah, exactly. Don't make it. Don't have him in the pocket. Quick decisions, I think, has always been the key with Jameis, and that's what they're going to have to coach him on. That's what they're going to have to draw up on him. Early reads in the progression that are designed to get Mike and Chris open early with room to gain yards.
I know, like we all talk about Jameis a little bit differently, but like if you have a backup quarterback in the game and your game plan is for your backup quarterback to go out there and gun it and win, just philosophically, any backup quarterback, that's not a good plan. Like you aren't putting, he's your backup for a reason. So I would try to support him and put him in a position where he can be a part of success and not be the reason for success.
Yeah, don't ask him to do something you didn't originally plan for him to do heading into the season. You've said it perfectly. He's a backup for a reason. Well, keep it locked on NewOrleans.Football. We will be back at practice on Wednesday, and this is going to be probably the most important injury report we get so far this year. The Saints have stayed relatively healthy. It's the NFL. Injuries are going to happen. It's week 3. We're seeing a little bit more of that. We will continue to keep an eye on the Derek Carr situation, and as soon as we know, we will make sure to get it out to you all. But thanks again for joining us live in Lambeau Field. We'll see you this week.